Thank you for joining us. You're watching Sports News Africa, the home of Africa's sporting conversation. The continent's national teams have been in action at the weekend in the Cup of Nations qualifiers, so let's kick it off with a look at what's coming up. Uganda enhanced their chances of qualifying for the finals for the first time in 36 years. The indomitable Lions book their place in next year's Africa Cup of Nations tournament. And the Super Eagles mark Keishi's return with a win to keep their hopes of qualifying alive. I'm Temesgen Debesai. We begin with the qualifiers, with the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers, which will now take place in the Equatorial Guinea next year. Uganda beat Ghana 1-0 on Saturday, thanks to an early Savio Kabugo goal after the teams drew 1-1 in Kumasi 3 months ago. Uganda are currently in second place in the group. They have not qualified for the tournament since 1978. Ghana are still top Group E with 8 points, and they host Togo next.
Uganda Cranes regained their winning knack with a 1-0 win over Ghana's Black Stars in a 2015 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier played at the filled-to-capacity 45,000-seat Nelson Mandela Stadium in Kampala. The Stars, who played without their talismanic captain Asamoah Gyan due to an injury, were just a goal away to secure qualification when they were shocked by the Cranes. An 8th-minute header from 21-year-old midfielder Savio Kabugo was enough to secure 3 points for the East Africans.
I think the goals will determine so much goal differences. So we've won 1-0, and I think it is a very good result for us. We are going to play Guinea in the last game, and I think if we collect a win there, we shall be there in the Nations Cup next year.
The win improves Uganda's chances of qualifying for the event after missing out since 1979.
I loved it so much. It was great to see Uganda come out of the blue and beat the so-called Ghanaian champions who have played in World Cup. Uganda brings them down in Nambole. They should always remember that Nambole is a field of death. They should never play with them, and Ugandans are always strong.
Our attacking was good today compared to the previous game. Our attacking was very poor the previous game, but today we played very well, and the defense has been very well.
Uganda faces Guinea on Wednesday, and a victory will guarantee coach Michos Redovic's side a place in the 2015 Cup finals, regardless of the outcome between Ghana and Togo.
Meanwhile, in the same group, Guinea blew open Group E after they trounced Togo 4-1 in Lomé, and they now have to beat Uganda by more than a 2-0 scoreline in their final match at home on Wednesday to book their ticket to the finals. In Group D, Cameroon edged past DR Congo 1-0 to finish as group leaders and claim a spot in the finals, courtesy of a 71st-minute winner from Vincent Abubakar in Yaoundé. The indomitable Lions have qualified for the 2015 tournament with a game to spare.
The Cameroonian national football team, the Indomitable Lions, have successfully qualified for the 2015 Africa Cup of Nations, having won almost all their matches and only drew one against Sierra Leone last month. The 1-0 win on Saturday against Democratic Republic of Congo's Leopards ensured they stayed on top, much to the thrill of thousands of fans who turned up to watch the match in the city of Yaoundé. Cameroon head coach Volker Fink said his team lived up to its expectations during the entire match.
Qui était convoqué et aussi dans le staff, il y avait une grande solidarité et ça, moi, je suis sûr ça.
In the team, there was solidarity, and I'm pretty sure that this is the basis for our success. To qualify for the AFCON in a group like this, after a World Cup like that, this is something, nothing to be ashamed of.
Reacting to the loss, Leopards midfielder YUSUF MULUMBU said they still hope for his team to qualify for the 2015 tournament.
Comme vous l'avez dit, les chances sont réduites. On savait que c'était un match super important.
As you say, chances are thin. We knew it was a match of paramount importance, but I still believe we can make it. First, Cameroon wins in Ivory Coast and we win against Sierra Leone so that we come up second. Or else there is the possibility for us to be the best third. So we are going to play our cards well, but first of all, we have to win the last match.
After the victory, the Lions were accorded presidential-like escort through the streets of Yaoundé, where thousands of fans lined up to cheer them on. Fans like Annie Mbango and Brenda Ako, who turned up to support the Lions, were overjoyed by the victory.
We were touched so much by the goal that the Lions scored. We are very happy.
I'm so happy, in fact. I feel like I'm so excited. Yeah, but the match, the match was so wonderful. It was so great.
The Lions faced the Elephants of Ivory Coast on Wednesday in Abidjan for the final qualifiers match, a match pundits say could as well be the finals of the 2015 AFCON tournament. Cameroon are at the top of Group D with 13 points, while Ivory Coast is second with 9 points. DR Congo is third with 6 points, and Sierra Leone is last with only 1 point.
Welcome back to Sports News Africa. Senegal have stunned 7-time champions Egypt with a 1-0 win in Cairo. The win means Senegal joined Tunisia in qualifying from Group G, and they could still win the group on Wednesday when they host bottom team Botswana. Egypt will be desperate for a win in their final game in Tunisia to stand any chance of finishing as the best third-placed qualifier.
The Pharaohs, Egypt's chances of qualifying for the 2015 Africa Cup of Nations, may have scuttled after losing 1-0 to Teranga Lions of Senegal over the weekend in Cairo. Last month's qualifier match against Botswana ended in disarray, even though the Pharaohs had beaten the South Africans 2-0. This time round, the Egyptian Football Association left nothing to chance, reinforcing security in and around the stadium. After the loss on Saturday, fans like EMAD MOHAMED apportioned blame to coach SHAWKY GHARIB.
Egypt's national team played a game against Senegal without good coaching. There are no tactics to compete in the game. Simply, Egypt played without a plan to win the game, and Captain SHAWKY GHARIB and the head of the Egyptian Football Association should take responsibility for today's result.
However, after the match, the coach said his team had performed well, given that Senegal is an equally strong team.
From my point of view, I think our team was better than them. You would agree or not, but this is my view. We have controlled most of the match. We have possessed the ball for a long time as we played against a very strong team.
He added that they will be seeking nothing less than 3 points in the remaining match on Wednesday against Tunisia and will qualify for the 2015 tournament.
We will play a very important match against Tunisia. I told the players today after the match that we should not give up hope and we should play hard against Tunisia. Almost all of the people think that getting 3 points from Tunisia will do nothing for Egypt, but I think there is hope that would help us.
Egypt is in Group G with 6 points, Senegal second with 10 points, while Tunisia tops with 11 points. Botswana is last with 1 point. Egypt will be looking to beat Tunisia away from home to stand a chance to the 2015 tournament.
And the reaction from Egyptian fans who went to that game was one of disappointment and disbelief. Here is what some of the fans had to say.
The only player who was really playing in the team was Mohamed Saleh. There was no real performance. It was logical that we lost. There was no performance from anyone.
You're playing on your own turf and in front of your own crowd, and you can't even draw with Senegal? You can't go to Tunisia and win? No way.
They deserve to qualify for the finals. They are ready. They are ready.
The team is not playing. They are not players. There is no football in Egypt now and no players.
Defending champions Nigeria beat Congo-Brazzaville 2-0 on Saturday to revive their bid to qualify. The Super Eagles will play South Africa next, who have already qualified as group winners. And a win for Nigeria in that match will ensure automatic qualification regardless of results elsewhere.
The Nigerian Super Eagles, Africa Cup of Nations defending champions, may well be on their way to the 2015 AFCON tournament, beating Congo 2-0 in Point Noir over the weekend. In the capital, Abuja, football fans were kept on the edge of their seats as they watched the Eagles battle it out with the Red Devils of Congo. Umar Taiwo praised the Eagles for their stellar performance.
I feel happy. Even everybody in the hall feel happy. I knew that it's everywhere, not even only here. Everybody feel happy about the game and the results. Thank God. They really turn up this time around compared to the previous game that we played. As in, at least there's really a change, at least.
The Eagles' campaign in the qualifiers has been frustrating after losing to Sudan 1-0 last month and finishing on a 0-0 draw against South Africa in September. But Richard Oche, a veteran footballer, said the game on Saturday was not quite what he had expected from the defending champions.
We feel okay for now, but definitely their performance was not quite impressive. They did impress us. From the beginning, the first half was a little bit boring, but it's okay. We appreciate the victory, but we wanted to increase more in tempo.
The encounter on Wednesday with South Africa will be the Super Eagles' big test and will determine whether they will take part in the 2015 AFCON tournament. After Saturday's match, fans like Kaondo Wasea are already convinced of victory against South Africa.
I expect that when the South Africans come by Wednesday, we are going to trash them, we are going to get our 3 points, and then we'll find ourselves in the next African Cup of Nations. It's so wonderful.
The Super Eagles and the Red Devils each have 7 points in Group A, but have a 1-goal difference. South Africa are still leading the group with 10 points after their 2-0 victory against Sudan, who are at the bottom of the group with only 3 points.
Ivory Coast boosted their chances of reaching the African Football Showcase by thrashing Sierra Leone 5-1 in Group D in Abidjan. Solomon Kalou bagged a brace and Kolo Toure, Max Alain Gradel and Gervinho also scored for the Elephants. The second half was one-way traffic toward the goal mouth of the Leon Stars, who were forced to concede home advantage because of the Ebola epidemic. Ivory Coast are second with 9 points, 1 behind Cameroon and 3 ahead of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Meanwhile, Tunisia became the third country to secure a place at the 2015 Africa Cup of Nations when they drew 0-0 in Botswana on Friday. We'll take a look now at all the results from the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers that took place across the continent at the weekend. So, let's take a look at how things stand with just one round of matches remaining on Wednesday. South Africa top Group A after that win against Sudan and qualify for the finals. Second spot is between Nigeria and Congo. Algeria are already through, but second spot is up for grabs with Mali and Malawi battling for that ticket. In Group C, Burkina Faso and Gabon have qualified. Cameroon qualify from D as group winners. Ivory Coast must get a point from their home game against the Indomitable Lions. It's still all to play for in Group E, with any one of 4 teams still able to qualify. Cape Verde have clinched their place in Equatorial Guinea, but Zambia will need a point against Cape Verde to join them. And in Group G, Tunisia and Senegal are safely through. Welcome back to Sports News Africa. Basketball is a game that is fast developing on the continent, with African players playing major roles in NBA teams in the United States. The NBA season is now in full swing, with Luol Deng, the most high-profile African player, plying his trade in the USA for the Miami Heat. We can now speak to the captain of the Somali basketball team, YUSUF QAAFOW. YUSUF, the NBA season has just started with some Africans in action. How well do you think they're going to do?
I think they're going to do really well. Like the guys like Luol Deng, been in there for a while, they're seasonal veterans, and some of the young guys that just, that played really well in the World Championships. They got that work ethic and that They got the shoulders of the African community, like the African community on their shoulders, and I think they'll do great. With that being said, NBA is not a joke, and they're there for a reason. So, of course, they're gonna do amazing things.
How soon can we expect to see a Somali playing in the NBA in the coming seasons?
To be honest, I think within the next 10, 15 years, definitely you're going to see a couple of guys running around. It's just that we need to build our base back in Mogadishu and make sure we follow up with guys that are in Europe as well, and start doing a program where we track and develop guys, young guys, for our own future, and as by those guys getting better and making the NBA, it makes our program a lot better as a nation, and our basketball program will be really great one that any player who's Somalian that was born overseas would want to be part of.
You're now in Australia, far away from Somalia. How difficult is it for you to fulfill your duties as captain?
It is difficult most of the time, but with today's social media and all these Viper and WhatsApp and Skype, all those things make it so much easier to communicate with the guys that we have. But unfortunately, we haven't been able to have a stable roster for the last, we only been existing for 2 years since 25 years ago. That's the last time we had a team. So I'd say it makes my job a lot tougher, but eventually, once we get our roster down pat and we know the regular guys, we'll continue to communicate and make sure those guys know what's expected of them. And unfortunately, that's part of the things that we need to get better as a nation. As far communicating is one of the biggest things that we need to get better at.
Yusuf, and what was it like to play with your fellow countrymen in Uganda?
It's always a privilege, obviously, to play for any national team, especially, now that play for juniors in Australia, and to play with my guys, the guys from Mogadishu, the guys from US and stuff that are all Somalis. It was really cool, to meet so many different guys who grew up different ways. The bond, we bonded pretty reasonably for a 4-day meeting, a couple of days before the tournament. That's where we met. So it's unfortunate that we couldn't develop that a lot better, but hopefully in the future we can strengthen that bond and have more time, like a 2-month camp together.
And can basketball be the sport to put Somalia back on the map, like athletics is for Kenya?
Basketball can definitely put Somalia on the map because I feel like we very athletic, and we got the endurance just like most African guys. We very competitive, and we got a tremendous work ethic. And I think with good coaches going back to Mogadishu and developing the guys, our program will be great, and I think the future of Somalia is basketball out of all the other sports, because soccer is really tough and it's a world game, but basketball is still a fairly young sport in Somalia. So I think that's our future, definitely.
It's been a winning weekend for South African sport, with the Springboks beating England for the 12th consecutive time at Twickenham, and the Proteas levelling the one-day series against Australia in Perth. South Africa dismissed Australia for just 154 runs in 41.4 overs, with Morne Morkel the pick of the South African bowlers, with a career best of 5 for 21. The Proteas made hard work of chasing the total, but A.B. de Villiers steadied South Africa's nerves with 48 runs in 41 balls to help see them through. The next match in the competitive series is on Wednesday in Canberra. The Australians have decided to rest Mitchell Johnson for the remainder of the series, but the Proteas, with 3 members of their squad in the ICC ODI Team of the Year, including AB de Villiers, of course, will head to Canberra with their tails up following that win. That's all for today on Sports News Africa. We'll see you next time when we return with all the latest from the continent and around the world. Bye for now.